Hello everyone, my name is Caspia Nadapdap and I'm currently studying International Relations at King's College London. Throughout my childhood, I was always interested in the social sciences, specifically politics and geography, and had the news playing on my TV 24/7, and I continued to consume books in these areas. However, my experience living through the 2019 Sudanese military coup d'etat truly introduced me to the world of international relations, as I became fascinated by how domestic politics and external diplomacy actually intertwine. My curiosity in the world of international relations continued to grow and develop as I dove deeper into history, became exposed to economics, and immersed myself in the different cultures I lived in through the different countries I was living in. I heard about this internship opportunity with BizGs through King's College London's Department of War Studies, which I am a part of. I immediately applied for the internship because the topic of post conflict communities was something that was personal and interesting to me. I have witnessed how conflict significantly impacted communities, but that aspect is often overlooked. Furthermore, I wanted to deepen my understanding of post conflict communities in Indonesia because I've only previously studied the conflicts in itself, and now I want to know how the conflict affects those communities that were involved and how they are rebuilding themselves. My internship was the perfect opportunity as I applied my academic research skills and background knowledge in Indonesian history while simultaneously learning new skills such as digital journalism. I was able to do this through participating in the Reuters Introduction to Digital Journalism course that BizGs provided. From taking part in the internship, I learned digital journalism skills, the importance of branching out my medium by writing an article, producing a podcast that you're currently listening to, and creating a more visual piece. This internship and the course highlighted to me that everyone consumes information differently. Therefore, it is essential to make crucial issues, such as post conflict communities, accessible for anyone to know about and learn further about. Furthermore, this internship has allowed me to meet virtually with other interns from my university who have a similar area of interest, and by doing so, I was able to understand various other post conflict communities, some of which I had not heard of before. My article itself is based on the Poso community conflict that occurred in Central Sulawesi in Indonesia from 1998 to 2001. I chose this conflict because it is often overlooked in Indonesian history as the Maluku conflict was simultaneously occurring and that itself had larger consequences such as over 5,000 casualties as opposed to Poso's estimated 1,000. Nevertheless, the Poso conflict and its post conflict community is important to understand because it highlights how small events can compound to a conflict and how the community can take steps in its own way to move forward. To understand this conflict, it is important to know that Indonesia has a diverse social fabric with over 1,000 ethnic groups, 700 languages, and 6 main religions. This diversity forms the rich multiculturalism in Indonesia, but the differences amongst communities can also create tension, which is what we saw in Poso. In Central Sulawesi, there's a town named Poso, where the population is mainly divided into two areas and demographics. Those living along the coastlines are Muslim due to their exposure to Arab traders in pre-colonial times. Then we have those in the internal highlands who are mainly Christians, as the Netherlands Mission Society evangelized in the area during Dutch colonial rule. Although the Poso community had a difference in religion, it was mainly peaceful until the 1990s. At that time, many families from other regions of Sulawesi who were predominantly Muslim began migrating to central Sulawesi and specifically the Poso area. Poso's social demographic, because of that, has changed in the internal highlands, and it dramatically shifted with the Muslim migrant population becoming the majority. Furthermore, with their migration, they brought in new agricultural practices with their focus on cocoa cultivation. Tensions truly accelerated during the 1997 Indonesian economic crisis, which caused the Poso to sell their indigenous land to the migrant population in order to earn cash. On top of this, international demand for cocoa increased due to Indonesia's currency decreasing in value, thus widening the economic gap between the ethnic Christians and the migrant Muslims. With tensions high, the stabbing on the arm of a Muslim girl by a Christian youth triggered the Poso conflict as everyone took their own sides and perceived the other community suspiciously. What followed was a 3-year conflict within the community that saw death and destruction roam across Poso. The conflict officially ended on 20th December 2001 with the signing of the Malino Declaration, in which both communities agreed to 10 points centered around peacekeeping, returning of illegally acquired land, and rebuilding of Poso. However, the post-conflict community of Poso is taking a direct and unique route to ensure a peaceful future, and that is through emphasizing education for women. The education program focuses on educating women in Poso on multiculturalism, negotiation, social equality, and communication skills. By doing so, many of the partner people who help with this project, such as other NGOs, hope that the women will take these lessons they learn and apply it at the micro level by sharing it and applying it in their families and villages. It is then hoped that a domino effect will start as families become more comfortable with the other communities, thus fostering a peaceful environment within Poso where the feeling of fear or suspicion of the other is not built up in the future generation. Furthermore, it is then hoped that education will have a wider effect in raising the next generation, as they will know the conflict, understand it, but more importantly, they understand that having mutual respect and open communication can solve problems without the need of violence. Furthermore, it will teach everyone how to coexist and that communities actually have much more in common, such as both communities' hope for economic development and infrastructure improvement, thus being able to collaborate for a brighter future. Although it is important to note that one full generation has not passed since the Poso conflict, thus the trauma and the memories of it still continue, I believe that the Poso conflict rebuilding approach that this community has adopted will actually be successful, as it will allow the future generation to understand their past, understand its significance, however, be nurtured within a community where peace is emphasized and respecting the other side is the norm. Although no one in Poso will forget about this conflict, I hope that it is taken as a lesson learned that by having no communication whilst tensions build up and then further isolating themselves will only erupt catastrophically in the end. From me, this internship was valuable as I learned regarding the Poso post-conflict community. I learned the hands-on approach about that, and I also learned about a community which I had only known about its conflict and not really its direct impact on the people. But I believe what is even deeper than that is I learning a valuable lesson which I hope all of us listeners can take forward. For me, my work at this internship has taught me that post-conflict communities can only rebuild once the issues they had that built up to the conflict are directly addressed. And it is important that the communities takes on a hands-on approach of this. And I hope this approach will be adopted for other communities worldwide because I believe that this will allow them to directly address what was at the core of their problem and not directly solve it, but have an open communication and build trust amongst one another in order to go towards that path of community rebuilding, open communication, and collaboration. Thank you.